Alright guys, welcome back to Urge. We're moving on to the next subclass in the subclass series, which is the Divine Soul Sorcerer.
So Cleric Sorcerer.
Yes, Cleric Sorcerer, Healer Sorcerer.
Yeah. That's not just being funny. That's what it is.
I mean, literally it is. So, if you're new to the subclass series or to the channel, what we're going to do is we're going to go through all the abilities gained in this subclass. We're going to rate it based on its roleplay value, combat value, and overall class synergy, and how these abilities gained in this subclass improve on the base class abilities. So, without any further ado, we're going to jump straight into it.
Boom. Starting off this very interesting thing. At level 1, you get your Divine Magic. So when you link to the Divine, allow you to learn spells from the Cleric class. I meant this literally.
There you go.
When your spellcasting feature lets you learn or replace a sorcerer cantrip or a sorcerer spell of the first level or higher, you can choose the new spell from the Cleric spell list or the sorcerer spell list. You must otherwise obey all restrictions for selecting the spell, and it becomes a sorcerer spell for you. In addition, choose an affinity for the source of your divine power: good, evil, law, chaos, or neutrality. Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm just kidding. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. The true neutral character is like, ugh.
The hardest.
Ugh. You learn an additional spell based on that affinity, as shown in below, and we'll pop that guy up on the screen just for the sake of time. You can later replace this spell, but you must replace it with a spell from the Cleric list.
Yes.
So, yeah.
You get access to Cleric spell.
You get
as a sorcerer.
You get not one spell list, but two.
Not one, but two.
That's right.
So,
buy one, get one free.
Level 1, because you're sorcerer. Favored by the gods. Divine power guards your destiny, is what it says. If you fail a saving throw or miss with an attack roll, you can roll 2d4 and add it to the total, possibly changing the outcome. Once you use this feature, you can use it again until you finish a short or a long rest. Empowered healing at level 6. Divine energy coursing through you can empower your healing spells. Whenever you or an ally within 5 feet of you rolls dice to determine the number of hit points a spell restores, you can spend 1 sorcery point to reroll any number of those dice once, provided you aren't incapacitated. You can use this feature only once per turn. Huge. So basically what you're being able to do is, whenever you're casting a healing spell, or someone near you is rolling for a healing spell or whatever, you're going to be able to use 1 sorcery point to reroll any number of those hit points.
Right.
And it's unlimited uses as long as it's just once per turn.
So super effective on like AoE heals of either you or a cleric in your party that does like mass cure wounds. So that helps the healing for everybody, not just single targets. So it can be very, very nice.
Yeah, and it does specify you can use the feature only once per turn. It doesn't say per your turn.
Right.
So if you have an ally that's doing it beside you, they should always try to come next to you before they do it. That's going to let you use a sorcery point to potentially, if you need to do that.
Yeah.
So pretty crazy.
Right. Long wait from 6 to 14, where you get otherworldly wings. Bonus action, you can manifest a pair of spectral wings from your back. You gain a flying speed of 30 feet. That will last until you are incapacitated, you die, or you dismiss them as a bonus action. Your affinity you chose for your Divine Magic feature determines the appearance of the spectral wings. Eagle for good or law, bat wings for evil or chaos, and dragonfly wings for neutrality.
So they would get dragonfly wings.
Of course they would. But yeah, 30 feet flying speed. I can get behind that. And then finally, at level 18, you get Unearthly Recovery. Can ability to overcome grievous injuries as a bonus action. And I emphasize as a bonus action. When you have fewer than half your hit points remaining, you can regain a number of hit points equal to half of your hit point maximum. Use this feature once per long rest. So,
not too shabby.
That's just on your turn. It's like you got, as a sorcerer, I have a ton of health. Let's say at level 18, when you get this, you've got 100 health. You're sitting at
pretty close to that.
You're sitting at like 45 health. It's like, I'm basically gonna go back to max health. Just bonus action. Do this. I can still do my other stuff for the rest of my turn.
Right. Like a cast an action, and then twin cast that because you're a sorcerer
with the cleric spell list.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
So those are all the abilities gained in the subclass. So now we're going to move to the rating section. Which, first up, we have the roleplay value.
Right.
So again, asterisk, as always have to say that. It's my little quote there.
It is.
When we talk about RP value, we're talking about interacting with the world around you, interacting with NPCs, avoiding combat, non-combat scenarios, things outside of initiative order, essentially. Those are what we're talking about. Talking about mechanical uses that are gained in the subclass.
Bingo.
We're already anticipating you acting out your lore, history, background, class fantasy, all that great stuff.
Yes. It's not in the
included.
book, it doesn't count.
Mechanics is what we're looking at here.
Yes.
Mechanically avoiding combat.
I'm going to get this spiel he does in every video put on a shirt. It's just going to be a long list of words that
great.
no one can read unless they're within 3 feet.
It's like the tiny font. It's going to say like RP value, and it's going to have an asterisk.
Read the fine print.
Anyways, so looking at that, at the pure mechanical things on here, as a sorcerer, you have meta magic, which lets you do special effects with your spells, with your sorcery points.
A lot of cool stuff.
Like casting spells as bonus actions and all that great stuff.
Yes.
Or giving disadvantage on to people that you're casting spells on,
Indeed.
or casting spells as silent. So, anyways, all that being said, with this subclass, you're not really gaining a whole lot of stuff that is in the RP department.
No.
Because we're talking about regaining hit points, re-rolling dice for healing, re-rolling on saving throws, which I guess could sometimes be, depending on... Most of the time you're going to be doing saving throws in combat. It's possible, like, if you're outside of combat, someone's trying to charm you to, persuade you or whatever.
Yeah.
There could be some kind of thing there. But primarily, saving throws are going to be in combat. Not a whole lot going on here other than flying and the spell list of clerics that you're getting access to, which they actually have a decent amount of RP spells.
Yeah.
But that being said, there's not a ton going on the RP side of things other than the spell list and the flying. Yeah. And even flying can be situationally RP as well. So we went with just a 2.5 out of 5 for the RP value. Just nothing crazy going on. It's definitely more focused on the combat side of things. So let's just move straight into that, where it shines, I think.
Something that we both admitted when we were reading through this is probably one of the harder ones to score we've had in a while.
It is.
Just because the fact that you have access to 2 spell lists and all of the sorcerer points, the way they work with the font of magic. If you're a super creative person, there is you're unlimited power for what you can do, just because of all the random combinations of twin cast this, subtle this, heighten this, extend this.
Right.
But
there's a lot you can do.
But so having access to 2 full spell lists is a little silly. But the nice little miniature luck is definitely helpful. So chance with a missed attack to get a hit or fail a saving throw. Because I always go to stuff like hold stuff or dominate spells, feeble mind spells. Somebody fails that, you're like, give them 2d4 to that saving throw.
We need you to not have that right.
We need you to not happen to you. Yeah. You try being in a fight against some like big CR 15 monster and you're like level 8, and then one of your allies gets dominate personed. Like the panic just sets in a little bit, so you don't want that to happen. Getting a chance not only for yourself because you have cleric spells, but for another cleric, a druid, a bard in your party to be able to re-roll low numbers on healing, like I said, especially with AoE group heal spells. Right. Super effective because you can do it multiple times in a round, just once per your turn and once for their turn. So you really need that, like just the emergency heals.
Yeah, like if they roll if they roll a big spell that's rolls a bunch of 1s. Yeah. Using 1 sorcery point is not a big deal.
No.
You can just change a level 1 spell into a sorcery point again.
Get it right back.
And that's going to be worth probably more than if they roll a bunch of 1s on a
Bingo.
roll. So it can really change.
Flying is good for in combat, just specifically if you're a sorcerer, you are squishy. If somebody gets to you, it's going to be a very bad day for you because you have no armor, you have no resistances to things. You have like shield or like prevent them from getting you in the first place. That's pretty much it. So being able to be up in the air helps you stay out of being ganged up on for like big melee attacks and things. That's helpful. And of course, Unearthly recovery just as a bonus action, being able to give you half your health back if you're below half health, could definitely save you from being killed in multiple situations. Yeah. As a once per day thing with no spell slot, or it just takes your bonus action. That's what makes it so good.
It's pretty good.
Level 18. So we went with a 4. Yes. Out of a possible 5. And mostly because there's definitely situations where this shines in like raw burst output, both damage or burst CC or burst heals. Yeah. Because the ability to bonus action heal yourself for half your health, take the old heal spell out of the cleric lists, cast a level 6 spell, give that guy 70 hit points. I'm going to spend 6 sorcery points to twin cast it over here and give him 60 hit points. You've cranked out 190 HP, give or take. And all you did was cast a spell and twin cast it.
Yep. It's pretty solid.
You spent one spell slot and give out 190 points of healing. Right. So There's a lot of cool, but it's a question of like how reliable can it be, because you are limited in number of sorcery points, because you can turn your sorcery points into spell slots and back and forth, which is really the hard thing to balance. It's a great kind of flowing way through with sorcerer, but it also can be the challenge of you don't know as many spells, so you can't just be like, I'm going to take all the cleric spells, because for your sorcerer, you don't know that, you don't get to know that many. Right. You're not a divine caster, you don't have a spell book, so it's there's some challenge there, some payoffs you got to opportunity cost kind of thing. But
yeah, and that being said, going into also the dipping into the synergies, getting a little foot in there already.
Little toe dip.
With the cleric spell list, you could definitely consider taking some meta magic options that you otherwise would never have considered.
For sure.
Just depending on how you're wanting to be able to do certain combos or whatever with your meta magic and healing or whatever. There's even some, decent non-healing things, shocker, and cleric spell list. So that are pretty solid as well. But that being said, let's go straight into the synergy side of things. The main thing with sorcerers is their meta magic and the fun of magic and just being able to change sorcery points.
The only thing.
Right. It's literally that, because even your capstone ability, you're just getting sorcery points back
on a short rest.
So I mean,
that's it.
It's just getting access to your meta magic, and then you're getting more options of meta magic eventually, and then getting sorcery points back for your meta magic eventually. So it's all based around the meta magic. And having access to a whole other spell list that you otherwise have no other way to get into, barring multi-classing,
right? Or bards,
but you're gonna have
bards can do it with magical secrets, but that's also limited to
there's asterisks.
You pick like
always
3 spells,
stuff.
Whereas this is getting 2 whole lists
to choose from.
To
pick
way
from.
More
options, and then you're gonna get when the original sorcerer spell list was created. I believe that it would have been built around the whole meta magic thought process as well. Right. So getting access to a whole other spell list that wasn't initially available to them for the meta magic is huge. So just going to quit beating around the bush here. We're just going to say we give it a 4 out of 5 just because there's a lot of opportunities that you otherwise would have no other way to get into easily, I should say.
Sure.
As a sorcerer, because you can multi-class, but then it's going to mess with your sorcery points and all that stuff. It's going to cause issues on some of the stuff. So
and because there's really only the one thing to really synergize with sorcerer, it's kind of hard to go like, oh, it's so perfect to fit, it's a 5. It's kind of hard because there's not really much else to work with there. It's so limited baseline as far as what it offers as far as different options and flexibilities. It's just like you have this one thing that can do a lot of cool stuff. Yeah, and it's really like how great it can be is really limited to your knowledge or your creativity, your time spent researching.
There's a lot of creativity, prepping, lots of prepping, because you're trying to figure out like what meta magics are going to work best with what spells, and you kind of like can do it 2 ways. You pick meta magics, and then you pick your spells around those meta magics, or you pick the spells and you pick meta magics to go around the spells.
Yeah.
So, and you kind of have to plan ahead a little bit here on how you want to do
that. Really, because you could build this as a straight up like a healer and CC based divine sorcerer, for sure. Like a utility. And you could still. Or you could build it still with like a lot of offensive sorcerer stuff with some cleric heals thrown in. Right. And this does create a lot of different builds possible within the same subclass.
And then depending too on your party composition, if you have another healer, you just make sure to plant yourself next to them. So whenever they do heal and roll hit points for that, you're going to get your empowered healing stuff going on. Because this is whenever you and an ally within 5 feet of you rolls. So there's that.
Back to back with the cleric in your party, the 2 of you just like...
You just pick a really small, like a rock gnome or something, and you just like backpack, get the saddle. That's from our campaign.
Like we do,
Yeah. So
my Dragonborn gets to wear a saddle, and the Rock Gnome gets to ride shotgun.
Like yeah, it's a.
Don't know how that happened, but the DM let it happen. That's how it happened.
Yeah, things happen.
Yeah, indeed.
But that's gonna wrap it up for this one, guys. Very different, unique option that lets you do stuff that you wouldn't otherwise have.
I actively, especially for this one, I really look forward to digging through some of the comments because somebody out there is going to watch this. It's like, I've done this, and I really irritated my DM with this, made my party love doing this.
We had some one shots and stuff. People played this, but we never really did it at like a full powered, high spell level.
Yeah, it's like we did like level 5 or 6 or something.
Yeah, it was really low, so you didn't really get to get a good feel for how well it worked at a higher level. So I'd love to hear your comments down below as to if you played with one or as one or have theory crafted or done all that stuff. Let us know. I'd love to hear some cool things you can do with this subclass. But that's it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification so all of our new videos are coming out. And as always, thanks for watching.